Okay, so this bass right here, which I am muting, it's the drums out, so I'm going to mute this and open the parallel compression bus. Okay, let's make a loop. Whoops. Okay. Okay, so these are the drums with the plugins on that I've added, and now I'm going to open as well the plugins that I've inserted on the bass channel. There is a Slate Digital Virtual Mix Bass that I'm using on every channel as on the drums out, and I've also loaded the T-Rex EQ 83. It's a smaller version of the 81 EQ. So the only thing that I'm doing is that I'm boosting the frequencies below 220 Hertz by 3.4 dB, and I've set the preamp to mic. Okay, and now this compressor is really special, and I'm going to explain you why. This knob right here is set to LUT-VER function, which means that I can compress differently what's panned on the mid and what's panned on the sides. So practically I'm compressing differently the kick, the snare and the toms, and differently the hi-hat and the overheads. Actually the toms are a little bit panned on the sides, so they're affected by both of the compressors right here. So when the compressor is set to LUT-VER function, it's a mid-side compressor, and it acts like, well, it actually doesn't act like it was two different compressors, because it still makes the tracks that come into it sound unite. It gives the sense of unity. So it's very different. It would be very different if I was compressing the kick, the snare and the toms to another compressor, and then the hi-hat and the overheads to another compressor. It wouldn't sound the same. They're all compressed together, but they are compressed differently. So this is the very special thing about this compressor. Okay, so let's hear the before and after. Okay, so you can notice that the sustain that I removed from the cymbals is present again when I open the compressor. Let's hear before and after one more time. Okay, so I also really like the tone that this compressor gives to the kick and snare. And okay, oh, I forgot to open the EQ. Okay, so I just remembered why I'm using this EQ. When okay, let's hear one time the before and after. Notice that when I unbypass the compressor, some of the low end is missing. So let's hear it. Okay, so when I turn on the compressor, some of the low end is missing, so I just remember that this is why I'm using this EQ before the compressor. Let's hear before and after with the EQ. And after. Okay, so it's not the same as it was without the compressor, but some of the low end comes back again. So the next bus is the room, the simulation of the room track that I would actually have if I was recording all the drums in the same studio. Okay, there's a Slate Digital virtual bus as always, and I've loaded an Altverb 7, and the impulse response I'm using is that one of the Sound on Sound Studios live room. So my drums sound like they were recorded in an actual studio, and let's hear the before and after. And after. Okay, so why am I using a room channel on my mix is because it makes the drums sound much more realistic, and because the drums are a really loud instrument, even when you're recording your drums with the mics set too close to your source, the room again affects how your source is going to sound, because the drums are so loud, they create so loud reflections inside a room that the room is affecting too much the sound of the drums, and without a room the drums would sound natural. And the final bass track that I have is only for the snare, and I'm calling it snare verb. It's actually a bass that makes the snare sound huge. I do not have only a reverb loaded here. Okay, so I have loaded a proverb, which is by Motu. So if you do not have Digital Performer, you won't have this one. But the impulse response that I've loaded is this one. It's called Plates Snare Center. So it's a plate reverb, possibly custom designed for snare, I don't know. And let's hear it with before and after. And after. Okay, so it sounds really ugly by itself, and actually this reverb here I am not using it. The next plugin I'm using is the comp. Again, let's hear before and after. And after. Okay, and the last plugin on the chain is a FabFilter Pro Q2, on which I am filtering the frequencies below 85 Hz because I don't need them, and they are just there to mudden your mix. So let's hear what I'm cutting. Okay, so I don't need these frequencies in my mix. And then I've also removed some frequencies that were ringing a little bit on the mids. Let's hear the before and after. after. Okay, so now the snare is cleaner. Okay, so now let's unmute all the basses and solo all the drums and hear what they sound like with all the plugins and all the auxiliary bass tracks on. Okay, so I believe that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked my tutorial, then you probably want to wait for the next tutorial, on which I am going to show you how I mixed the guitars and the bass